Ah, smell that delectable story espresso. That is the wondrous aroma of character cappuccinos, of language lattes, of plotline pumpkin spice. Hurry with the orders, Monsieur Donald. People demand the most excellent of service at the great Gaston Crayon de Papier story coffee shop.
Come on, Gaston, I've totally got this. I've got years of experience working at the famous coffee shop that shall not be named for legal reasons, even though everyone knows what it is. I know how to serve coffee!
Then you best get your caboose into gear, Monsieur Donald. Here comes the customers, also experienced barista. Now take the orders!
Of course. Hi there, welcome to Crayon de Papier's coffee shop. What stories can we brew for you today?
Oh man, I am so non-functional without coffee this time of day. I need a real energetic story this morning.
Well, sir, may I recommend our action-adventure Americano with 2 extra shots of excitement espresso? That should make just the right kind of story coffee for you, sir.
How about 4 extra shots of excitement espresso with a couple of pumps of high-tension syrup thrown in there as well?
Of course, sir. Wow, that'll be a really exciting story. I might have to read that on my break. Or drink it, I mean. That'll be $42.65, sir.
Hey, whoa, why is it so expensive?
This is finely made story coffee, sir. I have no control over the prices.
No, this is your fault. This story coffee is too expensive, so I'm going to blame you.
Yes, it's totally my fault, not the company's. Now, that'll be $42.65, please. It'll be up at the counter for you! How was that, boss?
That was mediocre at best, Donald. Give me some of that zest your stories are so famous for. Once they crave a luxurious story espresso, then you give them the pièce de résistance.
You really don't like me, do you, Gaston? Why do you keep hiring me for these places?
That is a riddle for the ages, Monsieur Donald. Now get back to work. There are more customers on the way.
Alright, fine. Good morning. Welcome to Crayon de Papier's coffee shop. What stories can we brew for you today?
Yellow! Can I have like a fantasy frappe with dystopian future syrup and a sprinkling of teenage girl hero toppings?
Of course, ma'am. No problem. Can I interest you in a creature feature croissant or an epic literature loaf?
Nah, I really shouldn't. I've already had some of those this week and I really can't afford to eat those kind of stories too much, you know. I'll get fat.
I understand, miss. Anything else for you this morning?
Is your, paranormal spice latte available yet by any chance?
Yes, we've just started making those this week. Would you like...
Oh my god! It's back! Oh my god! I love this time of year! I love paranormal spice lattes! I love them so much!
Yeah, that's great. Would you like to order one of those as well?
Nah, I'll save it for next time.
Okay, sounds good. That'll be $57.19.
Whoa, that's, super expensive. Can't you, do something to make it cheaper?
Oh, believe me, I wish more than anything in my heart that I could change the prices of the store just for you wonderful customers, but I just can't.
Whatever.
I'll be right up at the counter, miss.
That was the most pathetic display I've ever witnessed in my life, Donald. You must add more pizzazz to your interactions with the customers.
I tell you, whether it's you, my friends, or my mother, I get my share of people saying I'm not good enough. Wait, don't tell me. People might like you better if you like yourself better. Don't give me that crap. I hear that enough from my therapist.
That was not what I was going to say at all, Monsieur Donald. I was going to say that people would like you better if you were better.
Oh, well, that's nice to hear. Oh, good, another customer. Hello, welcome to Crayon de Papier's coffee shop. What stories can we brew for you today?
Yes, can I have a literary fiction latte with melodrama mocha sauce and 2 packets of sentimentality sugar?
I'm sorry, ma'am, but we are out of the melodrama mocha sauce today. Can I interest you in a character drama cappuccino instead?
What? You're out of melodrama mocha? How can you be out?
Well, you see, we had 1 bottle of the mocha sauce left, and then, we used it.
Ugh, that's ridiculous. You can't be out. Can you check the back?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that super secret stash of melodrama mocha sauce we keep in the back just for customers persistent enough to ask, can you check the back? I'll go grab some for you right away.
Don't you be lippy with me. The customer is always right, and I say that you have to have some melodrama mocha sauce in the back.
Here, why don't you have one of our famed comedy macchiatos to lighten up? We can brew the funniest story coffee for you right now.
This is ridiculous. I will not stand for this mistreatment. I demand to speak to your manager.
Oh no, don't bring in my manager.
Bonjour, madame! How is this filthy employee of mine mistreating you?
Gee, thanks for standing up for me, boss.
This sniveling little story barista of yours is keeping the melodrama mocha sauce from me. You've got a huge stockpile of it in the back, and he's just holding it hostage. I simply know it.
I apologize, madame, but we don't have any of that sauce for you right now. We ran out of it this morning.
Oh, well, why didn't you say so? In that case, I'll take a character drama cappuccino.
I did say so. Never mind. That'll be $44.87.
Oh my god, that's expensive. I'm not paying for this.
You know what? Thank you, because I'm not gonna give it to you. I'm not gonna give anyone story coffee anymore from this stupid place that sells drinks more than it pays its workers. Mr. Papier, I quit!
Alright then, go, see if I care. You'll never get your silly story about the dinosaurs with the laser guns popular without me at hand.
You say that every time. I don't care. Au revoir, Gaston.
Get out of here, you miserable rat! And don't come crawling back to me when I open the Crayon de Papier sub-sandwich shop. You'll never appreciate the wonder of my story cooking. It is art, I tell you, art!
Welcome, fellow nerds, to another episode of The Ritwit, the show where two twits can't seem to get any fans, yet feel qualified enough to talk about fan fiction.
I mean, to be fair, we do have fans. I mean, think about of all the fan mail we always get, that we always read so much of at the end of our sets with the reading the fan mail segment that you've recommended we have, you know?
I mean, I think that if we have it, then they're going to more likely send stuff in, and I'm going to one day point at this and laugh at how much little faith you had in us, but okay.
Okay, I'm a pessimist. But I'm a bit of an enigma. I'm also a pessimist that hopes for the best. I just expect the worst.
Well, what is it? You hope for the best and prepare for the worst, I think is the phrase I remember. But anyways.
I hope for the yeah, I know, but that's not how I do it. I hope for the best. It's like a false hope, because I know that the worst that's absolutely going to happen to anyone ever will happen to me.
So you expect the worst, okay. So, is your luck really that bad? Anyways, we're back,
guys,
listeners.
I'm a cool guy. This is someone you want to follow.
Yeah, exactly. And
if you want to follow me personally, we'll talk about later. The episode. Okay, hey, so this is the second episode of our sets. So that means we get to do our new segment for our second episode of the set.
Yes.
The vocabulary vitamin of the month.
Yes, last time it was superlative. Readers, I keep doing that. Listeners, by the way, it'd be really cool if you could send us the, just a bit of the excerpt that has the thing in there and prove that you did it. That'd be really cool.
Oh yeah,
I thought about reading one place where I used superlative, but I couldn't find it in time for our recording session, so unfortunately.
Well, for what it's worth, I don't think I have ever used the word we're about to use in any of my writing.
Yeah, I better get on that, sir. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right. I'll work on test notes later. I'll somehow
figure
out how to fit this
wrangle it in. Yeah. So, all right. So, we're not necessarily always going to take turns, but this was a suggestion by Donald, so I'm going to let him go and talk
I just thought it'd be funny. I thought this would be funny because it's such an obscure, but also very hyper-specific word.
It is pretty specific. You're right.
Defenestrate. It has two definitions, as I found out just a couple seconds ago before recording. The one definition that I know is remove someone through a window.
Oh, jeez. I seem to remember something. I don't know why I kept mixing it up with this word, but there was something from one of my beloved franchises, because we are talking about fan fiction, Ratchet and Clank.
Yes.
There's a character known as the Eviscerator, and I seem to recall this word being used, that he did this, but maybe I was thinking of disembowelment or something. I don't remember.
Something. I think he did use the word disembowel, yes.
But anyway, So, Donald, please
There's
give
a
us
bit of a
sample.
difference. Unless you consider, like, your skin to be a window of some sort. That's your innards defenestrate through.
Your eyes are the window to your soul. But that's, I guess, using the eyes. Anyway.
I'm just defenestrating as I rip your eyes out.
Okay. So, how about a simple sentence, sir?
Oh, wait, I was going to say the other definition, apparently, is remove someone from power. I mean, it could be. We might be. We haven't actually looked at
No, I did actually look it up. There's
Okay.
There's another
Okay,
informal definition that's
I'm
removing
just
someone from a
imagining
position of power.
this. I'm just imagining, like, someone going to the White House, going to the Oval Office, forcibly removing the president by hurling him out the window. It's one story, so it doesn't fall that far.
So you're using both definitions at the same time as your own.
Right. It's like, consider yourself defenestrated. And that's my sample sentence. Actually, no, it's not.
No, it's not. But
My
that's
sample
fine. That's fine. We can leave it there. I know that'd be fine with you.
My what I wrote here is far worse, so let's just use
All
that.
right, we'll just use that. I
did
only
like
have,
the term I
I only
used.
have one thing to say, listeners, and I won't read the sentence that spurred this phrase, but this turn of phrase is delightful. Destination defenestration.
It's pretty great.
Now get out there and take your vitamin, listeners. You got until next time to use it somehow. Now, admittedly,
Yes,
because
if you
this
don't,
is
we will
hyper-specific-
defenestrate you.
because this one is hyper-specific, I would not be surprised if you had to shoehorn things a little bit. Don't feel too
I mean,
bad
for
if
what
it's
it's
only
worth.
like a couple sentences or whatever.
For what
It's
it-
just to give you a chance to use the word, try it out for yourself.
For what it's worth, I can't really use this in the part I'm in Teslanauts because they're in an underwater base. So
Ooh, defenestrating someone underwater, even better.
okay, yeah, you got rid of them, but you also opened up a hole.
Exactly.
The base is
Shut
gonna
the
flood.
airlock! What do you think this is? Space?
That'd be even worse.
All right. Anyway,
So it'll be very hard for me to use this in my writing. But
until next set, if you get a chance to use it, please do. If nothing else, now you know what the word defenestrate means. So take your
and now
vitamin,
you
kids.
know what.
Anyway,
Yep, and also now you know that there will be an underwater base in Teslanauts. Maybe if I don't edit it out before.
oh,
Listen.
do we need a spoiler siren? No, I'm kidding. Anyway, the world you love.
I'd
is
say more of a
incomplete.
foghorn than anything. It's just not for the podcast.
Yeah, it's not for the podcast. You're right. Anyways, we are talking about
Alright.
fan fiction, so without any further ado, let's get into this. The world you love
Yes.
is incomplete. It needs something that
Yes.
only you can provide. Better
So
yet,
last week,
you've been thinking about
Last
this.
week-
Yeah, what?
I was gonna say last week we talked about like continuation ones, which is just it's the same
I'm
characters, it's the same setting. This is like this one. We're talking about something that's just one of those
I
factors
was
has
going to
changed.
use this as a setup, and you ruined it.
Now you know how I feel whenever I do a brilliant segue, and you're like,
Yeah, so
oh,
brilliant.
actually,
Speaking of which, so
and you're
brilliant.
like, oh, I was going to say it. I'm like, shut up, David. And you're,
And every time I come
And
up with a
then you
halfway
don't shut
decent
up.
segue, you always ruin them. Anyways,
all right, you say your dumb intro now.
I don't know why you're saying it's dumb. At least I wrote it. You didn't have anything.
That's you answered your own question. I'm so mean.
all right.
I love you, buddy. That was a joke.
Yeah.
I love you, man. Don't leave me. Don't you fire your missile that I know you've been saving to fire at me.
Oh my gosh. The shoe is on the opposite foot. Anyways, better
That
yet,
sounds
you've been
very
thinking about this
uncomfortable.
character. and-
Don't have a left shoe on a right foot. Anyways.
Better yet, you have been thinking about this character, perhaps based on you, for a long time, and this is the perfect vehicle to unleash that character onto the world at large. Maybe you like the sitcom
Right.
model. You have cast over these roles with your own people writ large. To tie it back, you use a familiar set. Maybe they even cross paths with these famous characters just for a moment. This
Right.
kind of fanfic is just right for that creative enough writer, isn't it, Donald?
Oh, yes, it is. It is indeed. So, hold on. I'm getting messages from one of my friends on Steam. I can't talk right now. Stop messaging me stuff.
So
I'm leaving
popular.
this in. The listeners have to know that I have no life, but I still have friends. So-
Oh my gosh.
anyways,
So yes, the
All right,
original
so-
character fanfic, which
Yes,
could be a
this is
continuation fanfic as well, but you know,
well, actually, one thing I wanted to mention, an idea that we could talk about maybe. What if you have the original characters, but the setting's different? It's like, what if these characters were in, like, the West, the Wild West instead, or something?
I mean, it's
That,
still
that
be a
seems
fan-
like too much of a change. That seems like too much of a change for me to include it. I was going to think about including that in the continuation fix, but like that's too much of a change. So I wonder if we could talk about it here a little.
Sure.
I mean, there's not really much to say other than
No,
That
I mean, I
counts.
think I think it doesn't qualify as a continuation because it's not. It's distinctly different. Even if it uses the same characters, they're in a new place, and so they have to deal
Right.
with that. Yeah, no, that's an
I don't know,
interesting. That's an interesting
it's,
idea.
well, it's like Marvel's 1 million years or whatever.
Oh,
Or-
what is it,
The
75?
thing they're recently doing, right?
75 years of Marvel. They had 75 pages, and they did an homage to like the style of all those years and different creative teams and everything. It was really
Well, no, I
interesting.
was thinking more that there was like this set of Marvel characters that were like, what if they were cavemen, but like they were still their characters somehow. So like Iron Man had like a bunch of rocks on him or something, and then
I mean, they also do what if at all, so that might
what
just
like
be it.
it's like what Black Panther was like some sort of weird shaman that could literally turn into a panther, or like but
Oh, the
was like a
Avengers
saber-tooth-
of a million years ago or whatever.
something like that. That's what I mean.
The
yeah,
Avengers,
like
the
that
Avengers
kinda-
of a million BC, but that was part of a larger project too. You know, the
Yeah,
team.
I just
the,
meant something
the
like
present,
that.
The present day team reflected the roster that the writer chose for the million years before, which meant that like all of the heroes had some connection with a character in the present day, and that's why they did that roster. So it's not really the same kind of what if because they're different characters. Like instead of Thor, it was Odin.
Oh, I
Instead
didn't
of
know
this,
that. Okay, cool.
instead of this Black Panther, it was that times Black Panther. Instead of this times Phoenix, it was that times Phoenix. So that kind
You
of
know, back then, I think everyone had the same ancestor by that point. Or at
Well-
least there were.
well, like it's kind of cool that they show these analogs for the present day, and
Right.
yet, you know, I'm sure it limited the writer quite a bit because you had to find.
But that's
seri-
kind of part
you
of the
had to
fun, though.
find
Like, how do you
heroes-
do Iron Man as a caveman? Like,
Well, like they didn't have an Iron Man at all.
oh, well, I would have had an Iron Man.
Well, you would have tried to find some way to make it work, but like obviously with these powers have existed since quote unquote time immemorial. So of course, a million BC they could have existed. Iron Man really couldn't have.
I know, but like make an equivalent.
They didn't
Like
have
it's a
even
guy
bronze.
that wears bones.
They
like
didn't
bones
even
of,
have bronze at the time, so that wouldn't have made any sense, right?
Okay, well, it's not going to be literally iron.
no, it's
Anyways,
not.
okay.
It's playing with history, obviously.
Anyways, I don't know. Actually, I don't know why I brought this up. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about. It was just enough of a change.
It doesn't.
That
It
I thought
does
it might.
not have. It doesn't really fit continuation fic. You're right. But hey,
But-
this is why you
anyways.
listen to us, all our episodes, because you might miss something if you don't listen to them all, right?
Right, indeed. All right, well, I was actually wrote one of these. David helped a little, mainly with planning premature sequels and spin-offs, while occasionally helping with various chapters as well. We still cringe and laugh at ourselves about the story to this day, when we have only dared to mention its name occasionally in the years since.
Yeah.
I think now is one of those times, David.
We didn't
I
even
must
do
once
this
again-
on our What We Have Once Read episode, did we?
I think we were going to.
We were
but
going to,
then-
but we never got there because problems. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyways, I must once again bear the shame of this wretched, amateurish Bionicle fanfic once again. This story, this unholy story, was known only as Metru Maze. Dun dun dun. Although, as you wrote down here, only half of the character, or like,
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I'd argue those weren't predominantly original characters, but
Half of the original 6 characters were original. So.
all right. Yeah. Well, and you know, this could simply be one original character, so by that logic, it does qualify.
Right.
I didn't remember
Anyways.
there being 3, but, you know.
Yeah, it was Kuka, Ala, and Olu, remember?
Yes. Now I do. I focused more on the...
Before
I focused more
I realized...
on the Matoran characters that you had in there that would then never became Toa, and so I tried spinning them off into Toa and something else.
But the funny thing is, they did become Toa later after we wrote that, because 2 of those characters were Jala and Hali.
Well, not Wait. Didn't you have a character Visola?
Yes, that was the other character you added in.
I added in. Okay.
Yeah, but Jala and Hali went on to become Toa.
Right,
In the
I know.
canon afterwards.
I know they did. The listeners might be very confused about what we're talking about, in which case, please...
We're
go
talking
look
about
up a plot
Bionicle
summary of
again!
Bionicle.
Yeah!
Please go look up a plot
Alright, we
summary.
need to keep going, but
Yeah.
time is precious.
Yes. Yeah, this is where I make my hay as a fanfic writer. Taking the framework of something more people recognize while putting your own spin on it. It's why I care far less about which cameos I include, as opposed to coming up with my own scenarios. I didn't know that would do anything. Yeah, hold on. I am sorry. I clicked this. There's this little thing right here that I clicked, and all of a sudden it cut out of the call. I'm still recording though, so we're okay.
Okay, alright, get back to where you were.
Sorry.
I was very confused.
Yeah,
but
no,
that's okay.
I was just playing with this thing, and all of a sudden click, and then all of a sudden you shut off. I don't know why. I didn't even know it would do that. I'm still recording,
Anyways,
so it's fine.
Go on.
It's why I care far less about which cameos I include, as opposed to coming up with my own scenarios, villains, heroes, the whole shebang. More encouraging for people like me who can't seem to find any luck writing an actual new story. This is story creating on lesser difficulty, since you take what has worked somewhere and merely tweak it. New Power Ranger teams, rather than trying to honor the spirit of the old characters and inevitably pissing off some fan. Here's the inevitable reminder. You're in this for your own creativity, and people probably won't care quite so much without a familiar face, if they even care for the brand name you're slapping on it.
Which you'd hope they would, because they're reading fanfics about it, but...
Well, if they wouldn't care, then why are they reading your fic, you know? You have more risk, but it could come with its own higher reward, and whether you acknowledge it this way or not, the start of your own full-fledged, i.e. non-fan ideas, is right here in this kind of fic.
Right, exactly. It is a good way to kind of like segue your way, like kind of transition your way into more original fics. By like, okay, well now I'm eliminating one of the steps rather than 2. I'm using the same setting, but I'm doing new characters. Now eventually I could do different setting, different characters, just whole new idea.
Well, and something that I tend to do with mine is I don't use the same setting. Power Rangers for many years took place in the fictional city of Angel Grove, California. I don't use Angel Grove.
You did Devil Shrub. I couldn't think of an opposite of a grove.
No, I didn't do that. Anyway, I come up with my own locations, and sometimes they exist in the world where these things happen, sometimes they don't. The only unifying factor is that I base it on a structure that fans of that show would recognize, and that is the Power Rangers idea. They usually have giant robots. They're fighting monsters in color-coded suits, you know, that kind of a thing. It's taking the framework and putting my own characters into it, rather than forcing myself to include Tommy Oliver because he is like God to the Power Rangers franchise.
Well,
just because I have to. Because
right,
I don't feel
this is
that
what
compulsion. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say this is what I brought up. I was gonna bring up too, like with Bionicle. More Bionicle stuff, guys. Aren't you excited? I know I am. One thing that made Bionicle fanfic so much fun to write was how easy it was to come up with a new character due to the lore, kind of like Power Rangers, already having a clear template for characters. Like, usually the main characters of Bionicle are what are called Toa, guardians with a set elemental power, a set mask power, and a team name.
Sure.
Tahu, for instance, was the Toa Mata / Nuva of fire with the mask of shielding and the leader of his team. Matau was the Toa Metru / Hordika of air with the mask of illusion. and the showboating prankster of his team. And Nuparo was the Toa Nika
Slash
Mari
Mari.
of Earth with the Mask of Flight, oddly enough, and the inventor/strategist of his team. Yes, Bionicle characters would transform a lot. It's
I was about to say
it was their way of making new sets
You're right. Of course,
to sell without having to come up with new characters.
Of course, there's the toy aspect. I'm honestly wondering, though, out of all the Toa, is there any that didn't experience at least one change? Because even Takanuva got one.
Yeah, it's true. He eventually became like a half Toa of Shadow or something.
Right.
Like,
I don't
even
think
the
there's
Rahaga, the Toa Haga, they became Rahaga. So.
I don't think there's any character that was a Toa at one point that didn't transform into either another kind of Toa.
Leekon didn't. He became a Taraga, but that's a natural part of. He never changed from.
Okay, well that's the question. How far do you consider a change? The Taraga, by the way, is an elder.
He never became a different type of Toa.
All right, fair enough. Nidiki was transformed into a Dark Hunter, but we
even
don't know
his
what the rest
coworker,
of his team.
his co-Toa guy, Nidiki, became a spider.
You lost the right to call me brother long ago. Sorry,
we're such Bionicle nerds. I love it.
Okay,
I love Bionicle so much.
Fine, if you don't count the Toa to Taraga transformation, then I guess Leekon counts. Sorry,
yes,
just
that's the one, the single one.
Well, okay, the single named one that we are aware of.
Actually, I can think of a few, but at this point, a few others, but I don't think the listeners care anymore. So let's move on.
Let's move on.
Many franchises have similar templates for creating characters, like Power Rangers, as I said, and they're all fun to work with. So do it. Like, basically, don't come up with someone that already has a clear counterpart in the original story. But give them do a new variation on specific character types instead.
Yep.
Like, stick to the standards of the story when creating your characters, while doing something new with it. So
yeah. You did such a good job of answering the question that I never got the chance to ask, and that was, what might be some good tips on creating original characters in a non-original work? So thanks for
I'm glad you asked!
Here, let me say it all over again! No, I'm kidding.
No, we don't have time. Keep going.
So, something that I tend to notice with, particularly if they're self-insert characters, is that they tend to be very shallow. You don't think through why they're important additions. You just want so desperately to add them that you do it.
Yep. Well, the original Mary Sue was a character named Mary Sue in a Star Trek fanfic that was better at everything than all the original crew members at their specific jobs. So,
and so my tipperoonie here is give them more substance than you think you need.
Yes.
By that, I don't mean use it as your alias, but make them not just perfect.
Right.
They need relatable issues, something they struggle with, weaknesses. You have to cover all that ground with this new character if you want readers to care about them. Proper gender pronoun here. If they are a replacement, come up with a solid reason they are replacing someone rather than simply because.
Right.
To use an example from Power Rangers, it would be like taking somebody from the second season when they replaced 3 Rangers, and instead of the one the show used, you put your own in there because you hated that character and that's the only reason.
Right.
I'm sorry, that's not a good enough reason to divert from what happened.
No, exactly. So
you have a chance to introduce a new type or personality to your mix. Don't waste it.
Right.
You can have somebody who is very similar to another character, but wouldn't you think that actually be, harder to deal with? Because now that other person has somebody who's exactly like them, and that adds a little bit of drama, I suppose, but, it just kind of seems unnecessary. Despite what I just said.
Yeah. What?
Despite everything that I just said, if they are the focal character at the expense of everyone else, you're already coming from behind to get readers' interest for the new kid. Obviously,
exactly. That's always
we need to see where they came from, what their motivations are, what their weaknesses are, so we can actually, come to care about the character. But if you sideline everybody else, notably the one thing that people might have come to read about, because it's their favorite character or whatever.
Right.
You know, you're not going to endear yourself to those readers.
Well, and I think this is the problem that a lot of people have. This is, we kind of mentioned this last time, this is kind of fan fiction, even though it's official. But
Sure.
it's a lot of people's problem, I think, with the newer Star Wars movies. Not so much that, okay, yeah, I get that the original 3 couldn't be the main characters. They're old. It makes sense for them to be like mentor types. However, the way they shoehorned in the new people, and then they killed off, subsequently, the older people... in a way that seemed like very like, okay, we gotta brush them aside so we can focus on the new characters. It made certain people, obviously not that many people because they're still movies, were still big hits, but it made certain people very upset. They're like, hey,
You're
I don't
not
care.
treating my favorite character with respect, and I don't like that.
Right.
Kind of a
right,
thing.
exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
So,
you know, it's one of those things. Also, small spoiler in story, I find it very ironic that the actor who's actually gone is the character that's still alive.
I think we've mentioned this quite a few times on the podcast, but it is still, it's not funny, it's sad, but it is kind of funny.
It's amusing, but it's not of joy, let's say that.
It's funny and like, gee, that's interesting. Like, oh, that's funny.
You know, okay, sorry, random tangent, but I'll just indulge this bit. There was a book series I read as a kid. It was a series about a family of kid detectives, and they were cousins.
Ooh, a whole family.
Titus, Timothy, and Mary Jane. I cannot remember the series name. Sorry, I cannot remember the series name anymore. But Titus, Timothy, and Mary Jane, they always had this thing where if somebody used the word funny, they'd have a clarification that was funny ha-ha or funny weird.
Yeah, no,
I love it.
It's pretty good. It's nice it's nice to get that kind of clarification, you know?
Right.
Anyways, this has been a bit of a shorter episode, but I don't think there's really much else for us to...
I'm not done. I still have one more thing here.
Oh, I really want to wrap it up. Come on, hurry up. No,
I'm sorry. I'm trying
That's
to
okay.
I'm trying to pad it a little bit because I know it is short. Another recommendation: try not to overflow the story with your creations or friend analogs, because that just makes the juggling act harder.
Yeah, especially if it's obvious, so like, oh, this one's this guy from my life, this one's this guy from my life.
Well, you know, we don't have that same connection with that person that you do, theoretically. In addition to that, you know, if you're adding them and not taking out anything else, it's more balls to juggle. And I don't know about you, but I have a hard time properly juggling, too. So, you know,
you juggle your balls? You're two of them? You should go on America's Got Talent, bro. That's really cool. And also disturbing.
Your mind is disturbing to me. That's the problem here. Oh my goodness.
May I remind listeners once again that I try my best to make sure that this podcast doesn't go onto the not safe for work part of iTunes, the explicit tag.
The explicit
but it
tag
skirts
of
the
no
line.
longer iTunes, but Apple Podcasts.
Right, but yeah, like it's not still explicit, but sometimes it skirts that line. So,
yeah.
as long as it doesn't ever completely cross it, though, we're good.
Yeah, we were crossing lines we didn't even know we had to cross. But anyways,
well, so let's not cross them. You I'll cut that.
I was assuming you'll bleep that out.
Yes, of course I will. I'm not an idiot.
Oh my god.
Okay, go on. What were you gonna say?
Anyways. Because obviously balancing your characters is hard enough if you just add too many to... Like, I mean, this is not a fan fiction. It is an actual Sentai series, but there is a series, very recent one that I've watched it, called Q Ranger, and the word literally is the number 9, Q, in Japanese, and they actually did start with 9 Rangers. So, you know, nice synergy. Unfortunately, they did not stick at 9 Rangers. They added 3 more. And so, like, every time they're going to fight, they literally had this device called the Q-let, and it was this little, like, wheel. It's like a lottery, like one of those bingo machines. So you roll it, and out comes a ball. And that was how they picked who would sortie for the day. Because you can't take everybody with 12 people. Like, there's no purpose.
Right.
One of the biggest complaints about that season is that, because there were so many characters, they did not all get a chance to really shine. Like, yes, everybody got an individual focus episode, but inevitably, some were not as important as others.
Right.
The reason I bring it up is because when you have a fanfic of your own that introduces an original character, depending on how many characters you keep, that juggling act can get really hard to do.
Right.
Whether they're rangers that have to wear different colored suits, or whether they're, crew members on a spaceship, or whether they're Jedi trainees at the Jedi Academy on Yavin 4, or whatever it is.
Right, yeah.
The more characters you have, the harder it is to get all of them adequate, balanced screen time. So, save yourself the headache. Don't add too many. Until you know how to do it better.
Right, exactly. But at which point, add as many as you want.
Yeah. So
as long as you know what you're doing.
As long as you know what you're doing, I'm not that concerned. Anyways, we've talked a bit more about original characters and stuff. I did want... There was one thing that I wanted to add here, and that was...
Go ahead.
If you had a... what was I going to do? I had an... No, I'm serious.
You were about to make the episode explicit again, though, with what you were about to say there.
I didn't.
That's okay. That's okay. I would have bleeped it out.
I was going to say you're probably cutting it out anyway, because it's thinking time.
Now I'm not, because we talked about it.
Doesn't mean you have to keep it in.
Yeah. Padding. I'm all about the padding. Right. Well, if you don't figure it out quickly, but
darn it, there was something that would lead to a perfect, if you have a question about this, ask us. It was specific, but now I can't remember what the specific thing was. Oh my gosh, that's
well, I guess let's go non-specific and just say, if you have a question for us about this particular topic, ask us. How could you ask us? Well, you can contact us at Matt D, that's with 2 T's, at matthewdoncreator.com.
If you go to that aforementioned website, by the way, and then you can use the contact page, or you can use your own email system. Obviously, we share Matt D in common, so if you're going to specify a co-host, please use Donald or David. We appreciate it.
Please do. Or if you know us personally, Seivert or Hall.
Yeah, maybe.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay. So, if you want to follow me personally...
Yes.
Oh, wait, were you going to say something?
No, go ahead. You're good.
If you were going to follow me personally... at Matthewdon Creator on Facebook, at Matthewdon64 on Twitter, and Matthewdon64 on Instagram. Why 64? Because I've had a 6-pack 4 separate times in my life. I swear I have. This is not a joke. But I have promptly lost it each time due to excessive junk food consumption. But I've managed to get one 4 times. I swear.
So here's the question: if you managed to get it a 5th time, would you then reset your Twitter account and change all the numbers?
No, because when I did the Twitter, by that point, it happened 4 times.
So you're just gonna let it be, huh?
Let it be, let it be. I don't know the rest of that song.
Well,
I know it's something about words of wisdom. Let it be.
Singing "Let It Be." You're probably okay. But anyways, that's it for us.
It's the Beatles, right?
Original character fan fiction. We'll be back with more next week on other stuff related to fanfics. Until then, please keep writing. If you got questions, you know what to do.
I'm Matt Donald.
I'm Matt David, and we'll see you next time on the Ritwit, the show where us 2 twits have twitted ourselves out about writing for the week.
As we always do.
The Ritwit.